you ever sat and wondered to yourself, is video game heaven real? Well, today we're gonna find out. Let's get into it. Located in Virginia Beach, Video Game Heaven is one of the East Coast's coolest retro game spots. But this place is more than that. It's a slice of Japan picked straight out of Akihabara, Tokyo. You'll find retro games, modern titles, shelves full of anime figures, plushies, Gumpla, and even some cool apparel. This shop is packed with awesome finds you won't want to miss. So what do you say we get started with the tour? This video is brought to you by Gallery Airbrush. Use code PIXELY at checkout for 10% off your order, or click the link in the description below. Alright, so we are outside the shop here, and they've got this really cool Castlevania style logo above the store, and it's a nice sunny day. So what do you say we go ahead and walk inside? And when you walk in the shop, you're going to see all of this merchandise spread out all over the place. It's a really big room with tons and tons of stuff. And yeah, you can see some plushies here, some of those t-shirts and things. And we're going to get started by looking at the retro game section. So starting out here, you've got a ton of Super Nintendo games in this awesome Nintendo cabinet. And you've got your loose games, as well as your complete in-box games with a few accessories down at the bottom. And here's a little close-up for all of you that love to price check. You've got all the classics here, you know, your Super Metroid, your Mario, all of that stuff is going to be found here. And over here you've got some complete in box, and I'm looking at Super Turrican here, and it's not a bad price. I'm not super up to speed on Super Nintendo games complete, but that is a game I loved playing on the Genesis. Here we've got your N64 loose carts. These are typically pretty affordable for most of them, so it's one console that I would recommend to collect for if you are interested in just collecting the cartridges themselves. They've got a lot of nice variety here. Some F-Zero, Star Fox, all the major games. And then moving on to the original Xbox over here, some really cool stuff. Gun Valkyrie, Shenmue 2, which you guys know is a favorite of mine. Really cheap for Shenmue 2 as well. Doom 3, which is a classic. I really love collecting for the original Xbox. I think it's a really underrated console from that generation. Otogi, that's a really great game. And Phantom Crash, this is one I'm not familiar with, but I'm always on the lookout for different mech games, so that was cool. That kind of piqued my interest. Some Magic the Gathering Battlegrounds, that's another one that I'd love to pick up. Just a big fan of all that old school Magic the Gathering stuff. I think it's really interesting. And now we're hopping over to the Xbox 360, which is another system I do enjoy collecting for. It's gone up a little bit lately, but it's still very affordable, and it's a console that I never had when it was out, so I love going back and rediscovering those types of systems. And you can see just this endless wall, so much stuff. They've got some additional figures up top here, lots and lots of anime figures. And of course, GameCube. Everybody loves collecting for GameCube. You guys know I already have a really sizable GameCube collection, but there are a few games here and there that I still want and need. Harvest Moon, Another Wonderful Life, that is one of them, and that's not a bad price at all, especially with the original box. They've also got Magical Melody, which is one I've never played, and your Mega Man Network Transmission. I've also never played that one, but I love the Mega Man series. Battalion Wars, that's one I've always wanted to check out, but it's been eluding me for quite some time. It's in the Advance Wars series.
The enemy has not yet raised their flag. I am committing another wave of reinforcements to the fray.
And moving over to the Wii, that's another console that I do still collect for. Well, I collect for pretty much everything still, but it's one that's still pretty affordable for the most part. And you've got your Xenoblade Chronicles. That is one I really wanted. Unfortunately, when I took it out of the case, it was not complete, so I passed up on it. Tatsunoko vs. Capcom, another cool fighter. The Wii exclusive Dead Space Extraction. I've heard great things about that game. Dragon Quest Swords. I've heard that can be kind of fun too. The Conduit 2. I didn't even know the Conduit had a sequel. That was a game that was called like Wii's Halo Killer, or the gaming magazines would call it that at the time. Zack and Wiki, fantastic game for, $12 in change. amazing, unique Capcom game on the Wii. And here you've got your Wii U selection. A little bit harder to look through. I'm not as much of a fan of when they just have the spines of the games. I like when they have them, face up. Here you've got your PS3. And of course, PS2. Lots and lots of PS2. And even more PS2. I mean, they just had an absolute massive amount of PS2. Most retro shops do. And the same goes for PS1. Lots of cool PS1 RPGs were there as well. And Gundam Battle Assault. That is one that I have the Japanese version of, but not the English version. And I'd like to collect more of them. Beyond the Beyond, one of the PS1 launch RPGs. Alundra, I've always been curious to try that series as well. And Thousand Arms over there on the right. And then here we've got some PS Vita, which is really nice to see, as well as PSP and DS, and some Game Boy there at the bottom. I love PSP. I thought this one was so cool. Brave Story with this sideways landscape style art on there. PSP, it's one of my favorite handhelds. Again, one I didn't have when it was originally out, but I love building my library for. And they had a nice selection of Vita. That was a bit of a surprise to me because Vita can be very elusive in a lot of retro shops. Your Legacy of Ys, books 1 and 2 for the DS, that's pretty cool. Sonic Rush Adventure, I have the original Sonic Rush, but I've never played the sequel. That's one I'd love to pick up. And Suikoden on the DS, I am a huge fan of that series as well, but it's actually one I've never even seen gameplay of. Some Game Boy stuff here. This stuff is mostly pretty common, and I do collect the loose original Game Boy because those boxes are crazy expensive, so it's nice to kind of just always browse and see if there's anything interesting. Sega Genesis, that's one, over this past summer I collected a lot of Sega Genesis games, so I'm kind of, trying to rebuild the original library I had back in the day, so always an eye out for those. And some US Sega Saturn games. These are always really hard to find, and they're always very expensive, but it's nice to see some really reasonable prices on some of those. And the same for the Sega CD, a little bit more common than Saturn here in the States, but still quite uncommon. And your Dreamcast games, Gauntlet, Seaman, some other stuff over here. Again, just a lot of spines, a little bit harder to go through. And we're back at Genesis again, and I'm looking at those complete in box games, seeing if there's anything I need. They got some shooters there. Lightning Force, that's pretty cool, but very expensive, over $100. Some Game Gear, which I'm always surprised to see. It's very, very uncommon. I see it a lot at conventions, but not a lot at shops. If I do, it's one Game Gear game, but it was very cool to see that, and the Game Genie as well. Some Links too. Next up, we've got our console section, so all your modern stuff, your PS5, but also an OG Xbox, a Genesis 2, and a Dreamcast there, so nice little selection of used consoles. And we're moving on to the Gumpla section here. They had a really nice selection of Gumpla, and they had a lot of the additional backstock up here on this shelf back here, so really a large number of products on display at this shop. And I'm always looking for these more unique series like Stargazer there. These kind of obscure kits are the ones that I'm always drawn to. Lots of real grades here. And then these Seed Destiny kits. I'm not super into the Seed series. I've never watched Seed Destiny at all, but I am a sucker for anything that's a 1/100 scale and it's not a master grade. I don't know why. I'm just really intrigued by them. I like to see how far they, push the engineering and the mechanics outside of master grade at 1/100 scale. They also had some master grades, as you can see here, and some more of those 1/100s that I love. Really cool design on this one. The Legend Gundam. And of course the GPO2, that's one of my favorite suit designs. always thinking about that high grade, but really, truly I want that 1/100 master grade version of it. And yeah, your high grades, a lot of stuff that's just in circulation these days by Bandai, but really nice selection nonetheless. And of course, the GP01 FB. You all know I'm a big fan of that suit. And it's just nice to see it in different scales. And they've also got a lot of Pokemon model kits. So they've got all the legendaries there, a bunch of different Pikachus and some other starters. You got your Greninja there, Charmander. And they also had a couple of nippers, which I thought was cool. It's nice to see not just the kits, but also tools to get you started if you're not a Gumpla aficionado and you're just looking for retro games and you want to give it a shot. You've got kind of everything you need to get started there, which is rad. They've also got a ton of anime figures. I would also say, I think for this shop, it almost feels like one of their specialties. I very rarely see this many anime figures at a shop here in the States. Lots of Digimon stuff, which was really cool. I love the Digimon series. And the Majora's Mask figure, which is a little bit pricey, but God, it is so cool. I just absolutely love Majora's Mask, and all the designs from that series, or that specific game, are really just amazing. Some Yu Yu Hakusho figures, which are really awesome. Been rewatching that series. And then they have this display case here with some of the more high-end models on display. Not all of them super high-end, as you can see there, that, Goku's only $60, so not crazy expensive, but I guess they've got some of the more popular stuff in this glass case here, kind of just showing it off. Your Chainsaw Man, your Kenshin, your One Piece, your Demon Slayer, all of that stuff. My Hero, of course. And yeah, lots of variety, lots of cool figures. And also when you walk in, they have this bargain bin, and this is always going to be one of my favorite things at any retro game shop. I just love picking up $5 to $10 games. It's such a great way to build out your collection, especially in an era when everybody's talking about how expensive retro collecting is, but you can really pick up a lot of stuff for that $5 to $10, even complete, especially like you're seeing here on the PS3. Lots of cool RPGs. This is an RPG I'd never heard of before. And then here, Viking, just a Sega game. As a Sega fan, I've never heard of before. That's interesting to me. White Knight Chronicles, I actually picked this up. I've heard people have mixed feelings about it, but I think the art looks really cool, and I'm a big fan of Level 5.
That is quite a procession.
And I don't know, it just looks awesome. Dungeon Siege here, another Square Enix RPG I just had never heard of. Final Fantasy X-2 and Final Fantasy 12, both really cool games. 12, I actually got addicted to that game this summer. Here's one I'd never seen before, Mojo. Summoner, a PS2 launch game that people actually say some pretty decent things about. And you've also got, a little bit more retro, some PS1 stuff, although for PS1 it's mostly going to be sports games, as you see as I flip through here. Nothing that was too cool. Yeah, unfortunately, most of the common PS1 games these days that are popular tend to be a bit more expensive. You've also got your bargain bin DS games and even Game Gear, which I thought was really cool. You've also got some loose UMDs, though that's not something I would ever really collect. It seems a little bit chaotic to collect for loose UMDs, but hey, if you want them, really cheap. Crisis Core right there, $8.99, not a bad price at all. And then they've got some Super Nintendo games down here, as well as some Genesis. Pretty basic stuff, but if you're collecting loose, there's some decent stuff in there, like Stunt Race, and they also have the Super Scope game. So there are a couple things that you can pick up for pretty cheap. They also had some, Xbox, Wii, just various, bargain bin stuff to look through. And I love that none of it's behind a glass case either. I absolutely love that. Mech Assault, this is one that I really need to pick up for the original Xbox. Dark Void, never heard of this Capcom game. but you know, I'm always following what Capcom is doing, so kind of interested in that. Perfect Dark Zero, that is one that I need to play. I think I have it. I have to double check, but that's one I've never played, but I love the OG Perfect Dark on the N64. Some more PS3 stuff. And then we're moving on to the odds and ends section. So again, like I said, this place is a little slice of Japan. They've got all of these, you know, Japanese anime themed drinks. They've got your, you know, Ramune, your Digimon drinks, all that kind of cool fun stuff. They've also got a bunch of stickers here for you to pick up, as well as a ton of plushies, and not just Pokemon plushies like a lot of shops will have, but as you see as we go through, they also had some other anime franchises and just a really nice variety over all of their plushie selection. Animal Crossing here, some Zelda, and Shin-chan, which I loved seeing, as well as some other stuff. You got your My Hero, but I'm a huge fan of Shin-chan, and it's I don't know, I don't see Shin-chan stuff too often in the US. And they also have their own really cool like anime style merch for Video Game Heaven with like custom art. I just think that's so cool for your shop, you know, that specializes in kind of, you know, Japanese stuff. To have these like anime shirts is really, really cool. So guys, let me know what you thought of this shop in the comments below, and if you enjoyed this video, of course, please hit that subscribe button and give it a thumbs up. Also, if you want to see more videos, consider becoming a channel member. I've got a bunch of exclusive videos back there, and I drop at least one new video a month in that section, so that would really help support the channel as well. And that's pretty much it. Consider following on Instagram and also joining the Discord, which is totally free. There is a link to that at the top of the YouTube page. And that's pretty much it, guys. Thank you so much for watching, and I will catch you in the next video. All right, bye.